Ja, ladies and gentlemen, mesdames et messieurs, meine Damen, meine Herren, senores and senoritas, again, it's Wednesday afternoon, 7 o'clock in the evening, or 1900, as we say it here in Germany. And it's a great pleasure for me to welcome you on behalf of GIZ and the Tunisian Green Hydrogen Association on the Tunisian side, as well as the VDI and Hamburg University of Technology. It's a great pleasure for me to have again one of our, let's say, events about the hydrogen activities tonight in the, let's say, framework of our webinar series about the dawn of the hydrogen economy, recent developments and activities. And this night, it's an extremely great pleasure for me to have two competent, two very, let's say, interesting presentations from Tunisia. On one hand side, we will have first a presentation from Monsieur Engineer Khaleb Enin. He's the Director for Research and Innovation at the Tunisian National Electricity and Gas Company in Tunisia. He will give us an update about STEG's strategy for the development of PTX in Tunisia. Afterwards, it's my great pleasure to introduce Professor Dr. Inshebib Bouden. He is the former Minister for Higher Education and Scientific Research and a full professor at the National Engineering School, also in Tunis, in Tunisia. He will give us an update about green hydrogen opportunities and challenges, especially for Tunisia. This is what we can expect tonight, ladies and gentlemen, mesdames et messieurs. And with this, it's my pleasure to start and ask Monsieur Khaleb Enin to start with his presentation about the STEG's strategy for the development of PTX in Tunisia. So the floor is yours, and we are very interested about your explanations.
Thank you very much, Mr. Martin, for your introduction. So I am Khaleb Enin, the Director of Research and Innovation within the Tunisian Company of Electricity and Gas. So today I will share my screen. Okay. So today I will present the STEG strategy for the development of Power-to-X in Tunisia. To be on time, I will focus on the main points related to the strategy of STEG about the development of PTX in Tunisia. In fact, STEG has the monopoly of the production, transport, transmission, and the distribution of both electricity and gas in Tunisia, and it can play a decisive role in the promotion of the Power-to-X in Tunisia and in the transition to a carbon-free economy. Here I will give a brief overview about the staff of STEG. So STEG has a workforce of about 13,000 agents. The turnover is about 5 million Tunisian dinar. The number of electricity customers is about 4 million and about 1 million for gas customer. We have an installed power of about 6 gigawatts, and this year we record a peak of electricity of about 4,800 megawatt. It is a very high peak in Tunisia, and we have a very good electrification rate in Africa. We have 99.8% of the electrification rate in Tunisia. So STEG has, in fact, a diversified production fleet. We have about 52 production units, especially combined cycle turbine, combustion turbine, and importantly, our renewable energy is very small, about 4% compared to the total power installed in the STEG. So here the slides that shows that our resources in primary energy, here it is in red, are in continuous decline of about 7% per year from 2010, and while demand, here in blue, while the demand shows an annual increase or about 1% per year, and we have a deficit of almost 6,000 kilotoy. So here, as I said, that the part of the renewable energy is very small, and our mixed energy is mainly based on natural gas, on fossil natural gas, and as I said, that renewable energy is about 3 to 4% compared to the total installed capacity, and also our resource, Tunisian natural gas resources, cover only half of our national need, and the rest comes from Algeria. So we don't have an independence, an energy independence in Tunisia, and that's why we should look to other resources, other green resources in the future. So this slide shows the workday load curve, and here in green we notice that the maximum peak is in the day between 10 to 6 p.m., especially in summer. So here the curve, the green curve is in summer, and the other curve are in winter and other. So we have a very important development of summer peak. That's why that could cause significant operating problems, and then they may lead sometimes to load setting operation in some region in summer. And we have a fairly low winter load dip here, and a very high specific consumption. So our national energy strategy is has a target, in fact 3 targets: energy efficiency, renewable energy integration, and greenhouse reduction. And it has been the debate of 2013, and it has been reviewed in 2022. For the energy efficiency, we have to do acceleration of energy efficiency action with the aim of reducing national primary energy consumption by 30% in 2030 compared to 2010. For renewable energy, we have a challenge, the challenge that we have to reach the target of 35% in 2030, 50% in 2035, and 80% in 2050. For greenhouse reduction, following the ratification of the Paris Agreement, Tunisia is committed to reduce CO2 emission about 45% reduction in carbon intensity in 2030 compared to 2010. So this slide summarizes our STEG activities, the main topic that we are currently achieving in STEG. So we work on renewable energy integration, the demand management, the storage and the flexibility, green hydrogen, and electric mobility. And all these topics are, if you like, governed and linked by a smart grid. We have now a grid project in STEG in order to introduce the smart grid in our park, electric park. This slide shows the complexity and the interaction of the main topics that we have in STEG. Reinforcement of energy efficiency action, development of renewable energy, development of cross-border electrical interconnection, and here the energy efficient technologies, contribution to the Tunisian solar plan, migration to a smart grid, deployment of energy storage solution, development of electricity exchanges with neighbor countries like Algeria and Libya and Italy, and the development of the electrical connection projects. Okay, so this slide shows that in the left, it is the solar potential of Tunisia, and shows that we have a very good solar potential, especially in the center and the south, with values greater than 1,800 kilowatt hour per square meter per year. And also we could reach even 2,000 and more than 2,000 in the extreme south. And also for the wind, we have a good value in the north and in the center and in the north here, the blue marked in blue color. Actually, as I say, that our renewable energy part is very small. So the current situation is very few, about 250 megawatts in renewable energy. This is a stake, and it is the auto production for private company. And our vision in 2030 that we hope to reach 2,000 megawatts in renewable energy here for the PV photovoltaic and here for the wind energy. This table summarizes the future projects that will be achieved in Tunisia, photovoltaic wind, and also we have concentrated the solar power plant, CSP, and the big project, it is the energy transfer station by pumping, we call it STEP, ce sont les stations de pompage et turbinage. Donc here in STEC, he is planned to 2028, I think, 2030. Okay, here this slide shows that in Tunisia we have agreed the potential of hydrogen. It is estimated to 25 million tons per year. This potential largely satisfies the local need and the export to the European countries. So here it is the European country demand in 2030. And here our potential, so we have a very big potential in Tunisia, also for local and for the export of green and hydrogen. And here we have two scenarios. The ALT, it is the moderate scenario, and the ADV, the advanced optimistic scenario. Okay, so here this chart explains the evolution of the production and the consumption of green and hydrogen in a different sector, for the transport, for the electricity sector, and for the other sector. And we notice that starting, it is here in the blue, in the dark blue, it is the transport sector that will start in 2030 and 2035. and the electricity, it is light blue, and the electricity will begin in 2040 with some industrial, in the industrial sector, and in the electrical sector. So here in Tunisia, we have some opportunities. To ensure a better stability of our electrical network by smoothing the consumption peak, especially in summer, and particularly in the summer season, through the use of gas to power storage fuel cells. So this chart summarize that we could found some solution, especially for the isolated sites, because we have some isolated sites in Tunisia, some islands like the Kerkena Island, and the extreme south, like Tatooine, Tozeur, etc. And to bring electricity to there is very the cost is very high, and why not use the fuel cells combined and coupled with batteries, lion battery, and this solution could provide about more than 7,000 hours of continuous operation, and very good power of electricity. We could reach some megawatt per day, so it could be sufficient, and we will have stable energy and grid resilient from the fossil grids, etc. So here I give some example that here we have the island of Kerkena, that it could they have the consumption of 5 gigawatt per year to 50 gigawatt per hour per year for the high voltage and medium voltage, and for the low voltage it is comprised on between 15 and 50 gigawatt hour per year. This area have the following weak points, that actually we have a significant load loss in the electric network, and the risk of power supply disruption, especially during summer peaks. So it is appropriate to study the integration of fuel cells in this region and analyze their technical, economic, and socio-environmental viability. The second opportunities is dealing about the power to gas. So this solution that the produced hydrogen could be injected directly in the gas pipeline. It could be blended with natural gas or 100% hydrogen. So in Tunisia, we have a good gas network, and here that shows our gas network, and it is the Tunisian gas network, and here it is the Transmed gas network that comes from Algeria across Tunisia, and next they cross the Mediterranean Sea to Italy. So we have the opportunity that we could transport hydrogen from south and central region to the north to the export. It could be consumed locally, but also we have the opportunity to export it to Italy. However, I think that the economic viability of injecting green hydrogen nowadays in the short term, is not justified, because I think that it is better to develop its derivatives, ammonia, in view of the very significant local needs, in particular for phosphate industry, as a number that our company of phosphate, the Group Chimique, has a consumption ammonia about 450,000 ton per year. So a very big quantity that would be produced locally from green hydrogen. But in the short term, injection in the gas pipeline is not economically viable. Perhaps in the future, in the middle and the long term, it is okay. But now in the short term, it is very expensive in our scheme. Okay, this is our map of the electric grid, and also we have to reinforce the south-north backbone of our electric network, and it is good for PV and also for the other energy transmission. Another opportunity is the hydrogen turbine. Hydrogen turbine for STEG is very, very important topic. Unfortunately, nowadays I think it is in the experimental stage, but as opportunities for us that we will substitute the fossil natural gas by green hydrogen, and we will have a better energy independence in our mixed energy. And I think that in the future, it is a very promising technology that will make significant progress in the medium and the long terms. And we see that Siemens and Mitsubishi already produced some prototypes about these turbines, and they are very promoting in the future. But in the short term, we have the challenge that they are large consumer of green hydrogen. This requires vast land to be secured for renewable energy plants, water consumption, because we have the stress, the hydric stress in Tunisia. So we have the problem of water consumption and the storage facilities, transport, etc. This is the challenge, but we are confident that in the middle term and the long term, the hydrogen turbine will play a very, very big role in our mixed energy. Okay, so this slide briefly shows another topic that we are dealing in STEG. It is the electric mobility, and the STEG is under development of specification for the connection of the charging stations, the necessary pricing system, control and communication system for an efficient integration of electric vehicles in Tunisia. So as I said, that we have many challenges in Tunisia that I will summarize here, that the share of renewable energy currently represents only 3% of the Tunisian energy mix. The hydrogen only becomes relevant as a storage medium when there is a share of renewable energy above 70% in the electricity mix. So now we cannot speak about the derivatives of hydrogen or the other technology, and we have to reach the 70% in order to begin the green hydrogen industry. Green hydrogen production sites are currently limited to coastal sites for the seawater supply purpose, and unfortunately for the inland sites, they have private with this technology, and we will think about solution for the inland region. Why not to introduce some hydrogen activities, but with the purpose to recycle water, like for the fuel cells that could recycle water and reduce the water demand. Also, we have actually the contractual scheme, which could be the partnership private-public, or 100 private or 100 public, and we don't know. We don't have a very clear idea about the contractual scheme for the future project. And also the absence of a framework governing the marketing of green hydrogen in the local market and or abroad. So our ministry, I thank our Ministry of Industry that they create a group, a steering committee that have the and that involve the main stakeholder, and it has the tasks to develop the national strategy of green hydrogen, the support of creating a green hydrogen economy, strengthening research, training, and innovation, setting up a pilot hydrogen production project in collaboration with international institutions. And of course, this committee will be assisted by local and foreign experts during the development of a strategic plan, which is scheduled to the end of 2024. So I come at the end of my presentation. So here, our target is to develop our strategic plan before the end of 2024. We have to analyze the potential of its existing infrastructure and the need for additional infrastructure for development of our Power-to-X, participate in the development of an appropriate regulatory framework governing Power-to-X in Tunisia. And I speak about this scheme, the contractual scheme, and participate in the establishment of regulation relating to the marketing of green hydrogen and derivatives in the local markets, or if they are intended for export. And also, we thank GIZ and the KfW that procure to Tunisia, to our ministry, an amount of 25 million euro in order to establish a pilot project and to do a research center in order to promote the Power-to-X in Tunisia. And also, we have to investigate investment costs and appropriate financing option to assess the risk of the Power-to-X sector currently and at early stage of development. And the final topic, it is also very important. It is the communication plan that we have to achieve with the stakeholder and the other decision maker, journalists, and the general public in order to disseminate this culture to our country. Thank you very much for your attention. I hope that I am in time. Thank you.
Yeah, you are perfect in time. Thank you very, very much for this interesting presentation about the ongoing activities as well as the foreseen, let's say, plans for the time. Monsieur Khaleb Enin. So thank you very much. And the first questions already popped up in the chat, but my proposal would be that we first have, as usually, the second presentation from Professor Dr. Inch Shehib Boden. Yeah. Sorry, I'm still only limited able to pronounce this nice Arabic, let's say, words and names in the right way. So please apologize for that. He, as I said already, he is a former Minister of Higher Education, Scientific Research, and in parallel, or now he is a full professor at the National Engineering School in Tunis, and he will give us an update about green hydrogen opportunities and challenges. So, Shehib Boden, I hope that this time it's a little bit more right. The floor is yours, and we are very interested what you would like to, let's say, report about the opportunities and challenges of green hydrogen in Tunisia. The floor is yours. Thank you.
Thank you so much. It's a great pleasure for me to make this presentation. It will be mainly a presentation showing the current situation in Tunisia. So I start with the presentation of the national production of oil, because as you know, Tunisia produces some oil and some gas, but this production is in recession for both oil and gas. And of course, now we do not have self-sufficiency in mainly in gas and in oil, in both. And so we are importing gas from Algeria, and as you see, the amount of imported gas becomes much higher than the amount of gas which is locally produced, which is now a serious matter of independence, energetic independence. And so the global resources from primary energy resources, from fossil ones, are in recession, and so this is not a good sign. Now, with the demand is increasing every year, and this demand is shared between electricity generation, which takes the most of the imported gas, and then, of course, the rest of the sectors, means industrial, residential, and so on. This is the demand in terms of oil products and gas. And then the balance, as shown by Ghal Benin a few minutes ago, shows that we are now we have a deficit. This slide shows the shares of the consumption or of the demand by sector. And you see that, of course, the transport sector is taking 31% of the demand, which is very important. And I think it's an alarming situation. Then we have the residential sector with 29, the tertiary sector, which is hotels, administration, and so on, 8%, means altogether the built sector is for 37%, which is very, very high. Then industry for only 25%. And agriculture is only for 7%. This is nearly the same. I can go. So this is the net deficit now that Tunisia is has a deficit on energy, and so we need to import and to find alternative resources. This shows the balance between the different sectors, and I think we have seen it on the graph. Then for the electricity sector, we can see that the electricity peak demand is increasing from one year to the next. And this peak demand has been shown by Mr. Ghal Benin. And we see that there is a difference between summer and winter. And then there is also a large difference between the trough and the peak, mainly in summer. And this is also a new challenge for which Tunisia has to find real solutions. Installed capacity, I will go fast because Ghal has shown this. So we have something like 6,000 megawatt of installed capacity, mainly running with gas now. So it's a share between combined cycle, gas turbine, steam turbine, and renewables. The shares of renewables are only 5% of the installed capacity, and the national production is also in evolution. Now we can see that the shares of renewables are only for 3%, and that mainly the combined cycles who are offering the major part of the electricity demand. Now, here we can see some facts about this shows the comparison between the month of January until the month of March. For primary energy balance, we see that the balance is is negative, of course, but the trough is going to be deeper every year. The commercial balance is influenced, of course, because of the import and because of also later on the subsidy. The independence rate is low, so we have only 50% or less than 50% sometimes of independence, and the demand is increasing every year. So then Tunisia has built this Tunisian solar plan, which is aiming to produce 30% of its electricity by 2030. This objective has been revised to become 35 at 2030, and it aims also to reduce the CO2 emissions by 30% at 2030, and now this has been also revised to 42% of CO2 reduction by 2030. And so we have two major objectives: is the implementation of renewable units for electricity production and the reduction of the CO2 emissions, and this can be done only by the implementation of renewables. There was an ambitious this ambitious solar plan aims to build PV and wind plants by stake, by private sector, means auto production in the private sector, as producers and providers for stake later on, which will be in charge of the distribution. Stake has its own projects, and some of them have started to produce. Some of them are being under constructions, and some of them are on the contracts phase, and so it's going on. And of course, these are the planned capacities. So besides stake, we have the private sector, which will come for concession and for authorization scheme. Concessions means that they will have the location and the land which is provided by the government or by the Tunisian authorities, and the authorization schemes means that the producers will provide the land on which they will implement their systems. And so we will see that these new renewable plants will cover all the regions of Tunisia, and we see that we have the different models and then the different locations, and we see that we cover all the land. And this is very important because it will contribute to the regional development in Tunisia, because now some regions are missing development because they are missing of enough electricity for the implementation of production plants. These are the projects which are under construction. The contracts have been signed and the projects are being developed. And we have also the distributed PV installations, which are also, it's a national program, which was a successful program. And Ghalb has shown the produced capacity, the produced energy from these self-production systems. And we see that these self-production systems are mainly for, there is a progression in terms of implemented capacity or installed capacity and in terms of produced energy, and that we see that most of them are at the small size, means at the level of small households and flats. Some of them, of course, go for larger sizes, but the most or the larger installed capacity on this self-production is mainly for the small capacity. And we see that the concentration is in Tunis and in Sfax. This is because of the number of citizens, but mainly in the locations where the sun or the solar radiation is available.
It looks as if the internet connection is a little bit broken. You see, sheep, can you hear me?
Yeah. Yes, we hear you. We hear you. Yes, the connection is interrupted.
Okay, so then please apologize for a couple of minutes that at the moment there's not much we can do about that. So maybe we can, let's say, overcome this technical challenge. Yeah. Now he is back. Monsieur Boden, Can you switch on the micro, please? Then we can also understand you.
Sorry, I think my internet connection has been interrupted.
So just continue. Thank you.
But I was talking about the ELMED project, which is the European Interconnection Project. Was it that? Yes. So this is a project which aims to improve the security of the energy supply and to stabilize the Tunisian grid by the interconnection to Europe. And of course, it will enhance and improve the integration of renewable electricity to the grid. The project aims to build a cable from Hawariya to Italy. It's something like 200 kilometers length. It's a very heavy investment. The investment now has been probably identified, and it's for a capacity of 600 megawatts.
Mr. Bowden, maybe you can start your slides again because they are disappeared. Yeah.
Okay.
So I don't see it either here on the Zoom, nor I see it on the live stream.
Now is it okay?
Now it's better, yeah?
Yeah.
Okay, thank you.
Sorry for that. And so this project aims to have a capacity of 600 megawatt, and this is very important for the stability of the Tunisian grid. The second important project is the pumped hydroelectric energy storage system, and it aims to build storage in high reservoir dam. And so the project has been planned for the Barrage El Mellah in the north of Tunisia, and this project aims to have a capacity of 2 times 200 megawatt capacity of hydro electricity with a good global efficiency. And of course, this is a very important also project to stabilize the grid and to have a better introduction of the renewables and to give the capacity of storage of excess electricity produced by renewables. Of course, the hydrogen could be also a very good opportunity for Tunisia to stabilize the grid and to be as a media for storage of hydrogen. Galbenin has presented the ambitions and the projects of STEG, and it looks very important and very interesting, but hydrogen can also offer more opportunities than the electricity generation and more than the power to power. It can be also the power to X, means producing different materials such as ammonia, methanol, synthetic fuels, and so on. And so this will cover, of course, industrial activities, but also the transportation sector, and why not the building or the build sector. What are the strengths of Tunisia? Of course, Ghalb has mentioned that one important point is the availability of solar radiation, but also the low cost of renewable electricity and the calls for and the tenders which have been done and the contracts which have been signed by the Tunisian authorities and the private sector have shown that electricity is at low cost, and this is a very important point. Renewable electricity is cheap. Of course, we have some very good relations to Europe and to investors, and of course, green technology could be a new opportunity for Tunisia for investment. And of course, the proximity and vicinity to Europe, and so we can transport this electricity to Europe and vice versa. The second strong point is that we have a pipeline which is already existing. It's a pipeline crossing Tunisia. It's going from Algeria to Italy. It's to Europe mainly, and it's crossing Tunisia. And this pipeline can be a media to transport hydrogen, either as a blending material. So we can blend the natural gas with hydrogen, or we can also transport only hydrogen. Now there are 5 existing pipes, but there is a possibility of extension. And the last point is the interesting and important national gas network, since we have a network which is covering mainly all Tunisia. We have a large number of connections, and it covers, I mean, the major cities of the town. Of course, this PTX issue has to be developed in a win-win situation between Tunisia and the partners. Of course, Tunisia can be providing the land and supplying the green energy sources and producing the green hydrogen, but also can be producing this green hydrogen for the local market, but also for the export. And of course, the Tunisia is willing to have a technology transfer and the high local integration of the green technologies and the production process. And it aims, I mean, this aims to enhance the employment and the improvement of the competencies in terms of industry and implemented technologies. Now, if we go for power to X, of course, the most common X's are, of course, ammonia, methanol, now green fuel jet, our fuel for planes, and of course, the liquid organic hydrogen carriers, means transport of hydrogen through these carriers, and whatever. I mean, we have many other applications. These applications could be mainly for industry and for different other sectors. Of course, we can talk about heat, but heat is not that appropriate for the moment. And so I will focus mainly on the potential of ammonia, methanol, and fuel for jet. Ammonia. Ammonia is an important point in Tunisia, or product in Tunisia, because Tunisia is producing fertilizers, because we have a strong phosphate mines activity. And so this phosphate is transformed to fertilizer, and Tunisia is importing all its needs of ammonia from different countries, mainly from Russia. Yes, and from Ukraine, but also during some years it was imported from other countries. I mean, from different countries, but mainly from, it used to be from Russia and Ukraine. And so we see that the amount of imported ammonia is variable across the years. We have reached the maximum of 400 kilotons per year in 2010. The phosphate production has decreased because of the revolution impacts, and so now it is restarting again. We are restarting the activity, and we have now something like 250 kiloton per year of imports. Tunisia has different mines, so we have 8 mines which were producing something like 8 million tons by 2010. This activity was in recession sometimes, but now we are aiming to restart this activity, and to reach, the objective is to reach the same amount of 8 million tons by 2050, which is, I mean, an optimistic time scale. And of course, the needs for fertilizer, for ammonia would be also, I mean, correlated to this demand. Now, of course, producing green ammonia could be an opportunity for Tunisia, but of course, the gray ammonia is cheaper. This is why still Tunisia is using gray ammonia, but why not in the future converting this to green with, different scenario of transition to the green. And of course, we can have a normal scenario, which is the business as usual scenario. So we see here this is the 2017 demand of ammonia. For a business as usual scenario, we can go green slowly, and so we can reach by 2050 the total green ammonia production. We can have a more optimistic scenario, which is a growth scenario, means the production of phosphate will be higher, and the exports of fertilizer will be higher. And of course, this can be also boosted by the level of having green fertilizer. And so we can go faster in terms of having green fertilizers exports. And the third scenario could be a scenario aiming to export also ammonia itself. Of course, there will be some countries who can need this ammonia because it is green, and so this is a good level for export. And of course, we can go much faster, and we can aim something like 700 kilotons per year for this very optimistic scenario. Of course, this will induce very heavy investment in terms of renewable electricity demand. And so the electricity demand will go between something like 2,500 gigawatt hour per year and 6,300 gigawatt hour per year. And of course, an investment which will be something like 1 billion euro for the business as usual scenario to 2.5 billion euros for the export scenario, means the most optimistic scenario for ammonia. Ammonia, of course, could be not only for fertilizer, but ammonia could be used as a fuel for ships. And this is also a good opportunity for Tunisia because the location of Tunisia is very interesting. And as you know, the European regulations imposes that some of the fuel of the ships which are coming to European harbors have to be green. And so having also the level of providing green fuels for ships could be a real opportunity for Tunisia. And the green fuels could be green ammonia or green methanol. And I come to methanol. So this is the amount of green methanol that Tunisia is importing. So we go from something like 500 until 1,500 tons per year, according to the different activities. And the expected demand will be something like 5,000 tons per year by 2050. Methanol is produced by different countries. Tunisia is buying methanol from Spain, from France, from Netherlands, from Belgium, according to the market price. So there is no long-term contracts. And so it is bought according to the best price which is offered. It is used mainly in industry. Many industries do use ammonia. In Tunisia, we do not use, methanol. In Tunisia, we do not use methanol as fuel as it is the case for many other countries, but it is only used for industry. The methanol is produced mainly by chemical processes, produced mainly from syngas, from fossils. But now the new trend is to produce methanol from biomass or from electricity as a green methanol. Now, when we come to this green methanol, of course, the technology is not that mature, and the units which are producing this green methanol are not that important. And now we know that some of those units which are producing methanol from green electricity, we take the example of the installation which is in Iceland, which is producing something like 5,000 tons per year, which is much higher than the Tunisian demand, because as you see here in this graph, the Tunisian demand did not exceed 1,500, and the average is below 1,000. And so, in the optimistic model, probably Tunisia demand will be 5,000 tons per year by 2050, and means going for local production of green methanol will not be very quick. But we can imagine also some different scenarios. The business as usual scenario is a scenario which is going very slowly. And so it cannot justify the implementation of a unit for green methanol production locally, unless we think about a growth of the use of methanol in Tunisia, means new industries which are demanding methanol, or the implementation of something to the export. And this could be, of course, for ships, as fuel for ships, but it could be also export of methanol as it is, and methanol as well as ammonia are easy to export. Since it is liquid, it's much easier than the hydrogen. So we can have some optimistic scenario for methanol, and imagine that Tunisia could be an exporter. And so in this case, Tunisia can implement one unit or multiple units of this similar to the one which is in Iceland, means 5,000 tons per year, means multiple could be, we can go even for very optimistic scenarios, since the solar radiation is there, so we can go for many units. Now, for the transport, hydrogen can be used for mainly heavy duty vehicles, means trucks and buses. It could be used for boats, and now also for aviation, because there is this agreement, the international agreement of IATA, which aims to reduce the emissions of CO2 by the air transporters. And Tunisia has signed this agreement, but till now Tunisia is not using the green fuels, but it aims to reduce its consumption from its emissions of CO2. And so there is no way to go for this besides producing and consuming green synthetic fuels. Of course, these fuels are more expensive than the conventional ones. And of course, this needs a real policy from the Tunisian government to support for the adoption of these fuels. And so if we go for a business as usual also model, of course, because of this agreement, Tunisia is supposed to go for half of its consumption of kerosene by 2040. And so this can give a place to a local unit for production of green kerosene, and 100% by 2050. But if Tunisia can go for the export of this resource, also then there is a larger potential for the implementation of units producing green kerosene or green jet fuels for the future. So very quickly, because I think I finished my time. So there is a potential in Tunisia, a very good potential for hydrogen and power to X in general. And of course, Now we need to develop some demonstration projects, to learn the technology, to build capacity in Tunisia, to be able to go further in the next future with those technologies, and to implement facilities for the production of green hydrogen for both the local market and for the export. With this, I think I have finished, and then my time is finished also. Thank you for your kind attention.
Yeah, Professor Bowden, thank you very, very much for this very interesting presentation. And thanks again also to Engineer Nguyen for also his presentation. So I guess, I see that we have seen two very nice, let's say, overviews about the situation in Tunisia. So maybe you can close the screen sharing so that we can see each other a little bit better. And let's come a little bit to a, let's say, a discussion. Let's say I do understand that, let's say, there are quite, let's say, interesting goals to go forward. And you, Mr. Bowden, said that if you go for, let's say, green jet fuel, or you, Mr. Nguyen, if you go for PTX, there is a potential, of course. This is also what we see in Tunisia and also in other countries in the Maghreb area. But the question arises, who is paying for that? Who is going to put money on the table to have the first demonstration plants, to have the first methanol plant, to have the first, let's say, green ammonia plant, and also to go for maybe Fischer-Tropsch synthesis to make a demonstration? Do you have any idea about it? Just has the money come from abroad? Do you have the own strengths to do this? How do you see this? Maybe we start with Monsieur Nguyen, and then we switch over to Professor Bowden. If you unmute yourself, Monsieur Nguyen, then we would be able to listen to your voice.
Thank you very much, Mr. Martin. Yes, in fact, in STEG, we have some many bidder. We are Germany bidder and some French bidder. We have been contacted with many constructor and supplier of green hydrogen, and they hope to build a pilot project. So in the beginning, it is a small power. It is less than 1 megawatt power for the electrolyzer. But in the next, in the 2021, the last year, our ministry with the KfW, they launched a bidding to retain not a pilot project, but it could be an industrial project. So the capacity, importantly, when we receive the offer, we receive that there is a very large bidder from power, from 1 megawatt to 200 megawatt. So I think that the intention to build a project, it is here. Financing is existing. So the bidder perhaps could invest from himself a part of the amount of the project, and some other organism like KfW, like the French FASEP, etc. There is many mechanisms to finance these projects, and I think that financing, it is not the problem, but the problem that we have to achieve our legal and the scheme of this project. Who is the buyer? Who is the seller? Who will govern this market? So I think this is that this work should be achieved now, before the launch of these projects.
Okay, thank you very much, Mr. Bowden. How do you see this?
Yes, I mean, I will join the idea of Al-Benin. I mean, there are many international funds who are willing to support, and Tunisia has gained a grant from GIZ, from the German government, to build a demonstration unit in Tunisia. Besides this demonstration unit, and many demonstration units that could be done by public or private or international funds and so on. What is the competitivity of the product? If the end product, say ammonia or methanol or hydrogen, green, is more expensive than the conventional one, and if still there are not international regulations which are fixing rules at the international levels, who will buy this more expensive products? Is it the Tunisian companies and the Tunisian market, or the international one? Of course, any company who will buy a product has to be competitive. And no one company will buy an expensive product when there is a cheap one. This is the key point. And so if there is an international regulation which gives compensation to those companies because they are using green products and they are selling green products at the end, then of course they will go for this. If this regulation does not exist, of course, nobody will go for this. And this is, to my opinion, the important point. And so, of course, as Ghalb said, in Tunisia, we have to fix the legal framework, but at the international level also, it has to be fixed. Well, whether it is a green product or a gray product, then the price has to be different, and the international market has to find some rules of regulations. We see for the jet and for the aviation, since the IATA has fixed the reduction of CO2, means, of course, that the companies, all companies will go for green fuel at the proportions that are fixed by IATA. But for other products, if there is not a fixed rule, then the market will be difficult.
Well, thank you very much for that. I mean, let's say, good, I'm a small professor here, but I do not agree 100%. I mean, basically, you're right, because most of the companies, they still look what is the cheapest possibilities. But we also do see, at least here in Europe, that let's say there are also companies who say, okay, I'm willing to provide green products to the market. And I also assume that there's a certain green premium, what I can get from the market, and I am willing to pay higher prices. I mean, this is what we do see here already, that let's say there are companies who offer, let's say, international traded commodities, which are basically green, and they get higher prices. I mean, there are not huge differences, yeah, but there is indeed a certain green premium, what you can get on the market, at least at the moment. I don't know how this will be in 5, 10 or whatever years. And of course, this changes, there's a, let's say, regulation. I mean, then it's enforced by the government. But I also do see that on free markets, you do see, not always, not for all products, but for some products, you do see indeed green products. And I mean, especially for ammonia and for methanol, I mean, they are globally traded bulk products or bulk chemicals. So I would expect that there is a certain, even a small market, but there's a certain market for green products. So therefore, sorry about that. Yeah.
I totally agree with you, but it has to be a company which can support this difference during the next 4 or 5 years. So it's not mainly the case for the small Tunisian companies, unless it is a big international or multinational company, or unless it is a company which finds a niche market for which it can sell its product. Yes, of course.
I mean, we did make some investigation in the past here at our institute, and there we have seen that it's extremely difficult to get green methanol, for example, because there's basically no supply on the global market. Yeah, at least not according to our knowledge, what we get out. And therefore, I mean, if there are small companies who are willing to do this, then let's say, and for them, it's only, let's say, a small share of the overall price what they have for the final product. I mean, then they might be willing to pay a higher road. Anyway, we will not solve this tonight. I just would like to be unpolite to you, Mr. Bowden, and just to have maybe a little bit a different view. But I mean, okay, the views from different countries are different because history and mindset might be a little bit different. Another point which has been popped up here in the chat is the question about, let's say, energy-water nexus. I mean, if we discuss about energy and green energy and hydrogen, I mean, of course, then the question is where does the water comes from and how we can deal with this, let's say, energy-water nexus. And in this respect, I mean, I understood from you, Mr. Professor Bowden, that you said, okay, you would like to build or from you, Mr. Enyen, I'm not quite sure, that you would like to build a 200 megawatt or 200 megawatt hydro pump power stations. Are they with sweet water? So is this also a kind of water reservoir, what you would like to use there? Or this is with salt water, as they did it, for example, in I think it's Dubai or something like this, where they built such a system. Maybe you can say something about that, because this is also a crucial point. And when I follow the discussion here, at least in Europe, I mean, very often the question is, if you would like to go to hydrogen, where's the water coming from? Yeah, we have problems in arid areas with water. So how you can bring this together, this water energy nexus?
Yes.
So maybe we start, if this is fine with you, we start with Mr. Enyen, and then we go to you,
Okay.
Mr. Bowden. Is that fine? Okay.
Thank you, Mr. Martin. It is a very pertinent question. As you know, that Tunisia has the problem of the hydric stress, water stress. So here we are thinking about water. Yes. When we speak about 200 megawatt of electrolyzer, so this electrolyzer will requires a huge quantity of water. So when we speak about water, normally we speak about the seawater, and also even with the seawater, there is many environmental problem even with the seawater. Because we have to go deep in the sea, because at the near coast the water is not clean, etc. And even we could affect the ecosystem of the water. So nowadays we are thinking about this, and there is some projects they are to extract some energy from the salt. When we do the distillation of this water, we extract some la saumure, the salt of the water, and perhaps from salt we could extract some energy that could be an energy for the electrolyzer. So there is some experimental projects in order to limit the water required. This is the first point, and the second point that I speak about the fuel cells. Fuel cells could be an alternative that some fuel cells could recycle the water, combined also with the battery, lion battery. So it could recycle the water, and the need of water is very small. I think for the fuel cells, and fuel cells, it could be a good alternative for us to Tunisia. Okay, thank you.
Okay, thank you very much, Mr. Professor Bowden.
Yeah, yes, the issue of water is a serious issue in Tunisia, because Tunisia is one of the most highly stressed countries in the region in terms of water. And these years, you know that since now 4 to 5 years, we did not have enough rain. We were under the average, under the annual average since now 5 years. And so the issue of water is a serious issue for green hydrogen. And of course, we have to imagine water desalination and the seawater desalination. But as Ralph mentioned, the seawater desalination, what to do with the brine? Of course, we have to redistribute the brine in the sea. And even the redistribution of brine in the sea can have environmental impact on the sea itself, on the animals and the vegetation in the sea. And this has to be carefully studied. The second problem is that the solar radiation is in the desert, and mainly the desert is not very close to the sea. So what to do? I mean, to bring the water, the desalinated water to the desert, or to bring the green electricity to the coast side to implement. And this is also an issue, because an issue which will have incidence on the global cost of the products. But also it can have also a social impact, because people from the regions which will produce the green electricity will not feel the impact of the implementation of these fields on the development of their region. So they need some development, some local development, implementation of production plants for hydrogen and for hydrogen products locally, so to create local employment and so on. And so this is a real issue. And these hydrogen projects have to think seriously, I mean, to draw seriously the subject of water, and to see a good way to have a positive impact. I mean, if every project aiming to produce hydrogen can provide, for example, drinking water for the local population, which will be really a side expenditure. It's a very negligible one compared to the global investment of the project, then the social acceptability of these projects could be much better. And of course, any hydrogen facility has to give local opportunities for people, and so means employment. And so this will make the puzzle a bit more complicated to solve, because we have to think social, we have to think economic, and we have to think environment according to this water issue.
Okay, thank you very much. This is also very nice, let's say, final words. But before because we're coming close to the end of the time, but before I would like to finalize or close this meeting, maybe in a nutshell, if you look for the next 10 years ahead, what is necessary from your point of view, maybe truly in a nutshell, yeah, so only a couple of sentences, what is necessary from your point of view to, let's say, start this transforming process or this transfer to a more green energy or environmental system? What is the most important points? What should be taken in the next couple of years? Is it more a technical problem? Is it more a regulatory problem? Is it more an organizational problem? Is it more a social problem? What do you think needs to be realized, or which actions has to be taken from the viewpoint of Tunisia to start this transformation in a more accelerated way in the years to come, that we move towards a more green society, and that, let's say, Tunisia can exploit its huge energy resources in the years to come? Maybe finally we start again, if this is fine with you, Professor Bowden, with Engineer Nguyen, and then we will come back to you.
Okay. So this is
okay. And I think that okay. Thank you. I think that our target, as I said in my presentation, that when now we are at only 3 or 4% of renewable energy, we cannot speak about green hydrogen, we cannot speak about green ammonia, methanol, etc. So our target is to reach about 70% in our park with the renewable energy. And to reach this technical point, we have in STEG, we have the target to do the stability of our electric network. And to achieve the stability of electric network, we have to introduce the storage of electricity. So in a technical point of view, it is the most focal point that we have to focus. And as you said, Mr. Martin, that together with this technical point, we have to resolve our social point. We have to establish. We have our legal framework for photovoltaic and wind, and we have to resolve some social problem, syndical problem here in Tunisia in order to achieve this target. I think that there is the 2 points that we have to work during these few years, the coming few years. If you cannot achieve this, unfortunately we cannot speak about politics or other things in Tunisia. Thank you. Thank you very much.
Okay, thank you very much, Professor Bohn.
Yeah, I totally agree with Ghalib for what he's proposed, but okay, this is for the transition to renewables, but to the transition for PTX and hydrogen, we need first to build the legal framework for hydrogen, and then to build capacity, to train people about those technologies, to start to implement training courses and training programs for this, because the needs for manpower in these new technologies are very important, and the ambitions are very important, and so we need a lot of well-trained people at different levels. And I think this is the most important to do. And of course, a lot of communication and a lot of, we have to explain these processes and these concepts, and to explain what will be the impacts for the population for a better social acceptability of the projects. Otherwise, people will see these projects as something which can be harmful for the environment, or not creating enough wealth in their local regions, and so they will not accept it.
Okay, thank you very much. With this final words, ladies and gentlemen, mesdames and messieurs, senores and senoritas, I would like to terminate now, or finish, or close this session for tonight. Before I do this, I first would like to thank again Engineer Ghalib Enin from the Tunisian National Electricity and Gas Company, as well as Professor Dr. Shibi Bowden from the National Engineering School in Tunis for their very nice and excellent presentations. Thank you very much. Also, thank you very much for let's say, discussing this couple of issues now. Thanks a lot for that. And of course, I would like to thank also the people behind the scene to make this happen, that everything works nicely from a technological point of view, which is Wolfram Tuschewitsky and Felix Mendler, as well as Fabian Karels, who strongly support everything. And last but not least, it's my great pleasure also to thank the organizer, which is basically the Green Hydrogen Society in Tunisia, with Shokri Aslush, as well as the University of Carthago from the Tunisian side, and of course GIZ, helping us to, let's say, translate this webinar in this winter. And therefore, I also would like to thank extremely warmly the two, let's say, translator for this duty and for this heavy, let's say, burden to try to translate my bad German English into good French. Yeah, so thank you very much for that. And last but not least, I also would like to thank, besides GIZ, which I said already, I thank the German partners for, let's say, making this happen. And with this, I just would like to advertise next week, same place, same time. It's my great pleasure to welcome you again. And then we will tackle the question of hydrogen underground storage. So this is a crucial point, as we learned from the first week. So we will have a presentation about hydrogen and salt, the dream team for hydrogen storage. And then we will have a, let's say, presentation from hydrogen storage in metal hydrate, which is also quite a promising option, because then you don't have any safety issues. This is basically, it's just a bit heavier. This is the challenge what we have to face. This is what you can expect next week. And then, let's say, we will further go down the road of the provision chain with other aspects. So hopefully I can welcome you again next week, same time, same place. And with this, I wish everybody a beautiful evening. Enjoy yourself. Don't work too hard. And I would very much appreciate to see you again next week, same time, same place, same time. Thank you very much. Bye-bye.